In the last video, you guys commented that you wanted a hot chocolate recipe. So here it is.
Welcome to Crocs in the Kitchen.
I'm Brian.
And I'm Jessica.
Today, we are making hot chocolate.
Yay.
By we, not really so much we, more so you.
Me.
And your assistant there.
And my assistant, Pete.
Yes. But we are doing a hot chocolate recipe because Jessica mentioned hot chocolate in the last video, and the comments lit up with, yes, hot chocolate recipe, make that.
Yes.
And so we figured, hey, it was such a simple recipe anyway, we might as well just make it and post it for the next video, because why not?
Yes, this is a very simple recipe, but I have a way of complicating everything that is simple. He's like, yes, this is my whole life.
Yep.
So I did add a few extra tips and tricks in there that might be a little bit more complicated, but they're really not that complicated. It's just me talking on and 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 on. So let's get to the making of the hot chocolate. So I'm here with my assistant, Peef, and we're ready to make some hot chocolate. All right, so the hot chocolate is super simple. It's only 3 ingredients. I've been playing around with this recipe a lot and experimenting with different ratios of everything, and this is what I've settled on for my nightly hot chocolate in these fall and winter months. So you're gonna start out with some almond milk, and I like to use unsweetened vanilla almond milk. You can buy your own, you can make your own, you can use whatever kind of almond milk. You could also experiment with different like cashew milk, any of that, any kind of plant-based milks you want to use. My personal preference though is the vanilla unsweetened almond milk. Then you are going to need some cocoa powder. So my favorite is Hershey's Special Dark. It is so dark and delicious, and I just love like the dark bitter chocolate, and this is just my favorite. But I've also used the cocoa powder just from like Trader Joe's. The key is make sure you have unsweetened cocoa powder. So you don't want to have anything that has any sugar or anything else added, just straight cocoa powder. So the last thing you'll need is something to sweeten it. So my preference is actually to use Medjool dates. I find that they add a nice caramely undertone to it as well, which goes really well with the cocoa powder. But if you don't want to use dates, you can also use something like maple syrup. We've done it with about 2 tablespoons of maple syrup, and it turns out really tasty as well. So you're going to want to blend this up so everything gets incorporated, the dates break down. I personally like using my Vitamix. If you have a high-speed blender like a Vitamix or a, what is the other one called? I can't even remember it now. Peef, what's it called? Oh, Blendtec. Yeah, Blendtec or Vitamix, something like that. A really high-speed blender will work the best. And you can actually heat it up in there as well, which is really nice. But if you don't have a high-speed blender, do not fear. You can definitely use a regular blender. You just don't want to heat up your hot chocolate directly in the blender, because Vitamix is specifically designed to be able to heat stuff up and let steam escape properly without it blowing up. So safety tip advice, do not try heating stuff up in your blender unless you're sure that it was designed to do that. Right, Peef? So the first thing that we're gonna get going here is we're actually gonna soak the dates. So I like to keep my dates in the freezer just because it's easier. You don't have to worry about them going bad in the fridge or anything like that. And when I take them out of the freezer, I wanna soften them just a bit to make it a bit easier on my blender. So I have boiled some water in our kettle, and I'm going to measure out 1/4 cup. And then I'm just going to dump it on top of the dates. So I have the dates in something. I've already pitted the dates, by the way. That's another tip. Do not put your dates in the blender unless they've been pitted first. Definitely take the pits out. It will not be a pretty thing. So I'm going to pour the boiling water just directly on top. I like to have it in a flat enough bowl that it covers most of the dates, and then we're just going to let those soak. It is only going to take about 5 minutes or so. You know, not really, you don't really probably even need to go that long if you're using a Vitamix. But the reason I actually measured out 1/4 cup of liquid specifically is because the other day when I was testing out my hot chocolate ratios for the 50,000th time, Brian pointed out that if I left the date liquid in, the soaking liquid from the dates in, it would probably turn out sweeter, because if not, you're losing some of that like sweetness from the dates that's been soaked into the liquid. And so I just go ahead and dump the liquid and the dates. So I want to make sure I have the correct ratio of that. And what I did was lower the amount of almond milk to make up for that 1/4 cup of liquid, if that makes any sense. All right, so I think I've done enough chatting and telling you tips and all that kind of stuff and safety warnings. So let's get to making the hot chocolate. So first thing I'm gonna do is put my almond milk into the blender. I have a 1.25 cups, so 1.25 cups of almond milk already measured out into this glass. So I'm gonna pour that in. Ta-da. Okay. Then I'm going to add in my cocoa powder. So for the cocoa powder, I actually use a tablespoon to measure it out, but I always do like a heaping tablespoon. So it's probably closer to 1.5 tablespoons. You can go higher or lower depending on your preference. I like mine super chocolatey and dark and rich. And so I like to add more than probably most people would, but play around with it. That's how I just started with these 3 ingredients and different levels just to find out what I actually like best. And what the tablespoon that I have, when I measure it and just let it kind of heap over the edges, that's the perfect amount for me. So I'm gonna add that in. Oh no, beef. There we go. Okay, the final thing is the dates. And like I said, the liquid from the dates is going to go in as well. And you can see, look at like all the stuff in the liquid, and that sweetness would just be lost if I didn't basically add the liquid as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and add that. Boom. And that's basically it. Oh, I did want to mention, now this is, I forgot this. Okay, I still need to talk more. So basically, your dates, how many dates to use. Okay, dates, not that I count calories, but dates are very calorie dense, so you don't want to just go throwing in a million dates. So I've really measured the ratio to see like how sweet is sweet enough for me without adding just a ton of dates. So for me, it ends up being 1 serving according to the package, which is 40 grams. Now, if you're like me, you might wonder, do they mean to weigh those dates before they've been pitted or after they've been pitted? Well, honestly, I weighed them before and after, and the difference is like a few grams. It's very negligible. So I just get as close to 40 as I can when the pits are still in, and that seems to be the right amount of sweetness for me. Again, experiment. Maybe you don't like it as sweet. Maybe you want it to be sweeter and you want to add more dates. It's up to you. But that's just what I do. And yes, I do use a scale to weigh that out because I'm a weirdo. Okay, putting the lid on. Ta-da! And then we're just gonna blend. So you wanna make sure your lid is on very securely and make sure that your top is very tight as well. I find that it can come through and start like splattering through because the seal on this, the reason why you can put it in a Vitamix and heat it up until it's like steaming is because this is not a perfect seal and it does let steam escape. And I find that as this is blending, because it's going to be blending for about 3.5 minutes, the chocolate can kind of like start coming out. And so I get really paranoid that it's going to like spray all over my kitchen and all that stuff. So Peef has provided me with a paper towel. And what I usually do is just kind of lay this on top and just let it like sit there. And I don't want to like push it down and like obviously make it not allow the steam to escape, but basically just lay it on top just in case any splatters happen, just in case. So for blending, we are going to turn the blender on. We're going to crank it up basically to the highest speed. We're going to leave it blending for about 3.5 minutes and you'll feel the base start to get warm. And that is in a Vitamix, at least at the highest speed, 3.5 minutes seems to make it warm enough to drink for me. But basically, if you have a blender that does not allow you to heat stuff, because many of them do not allow you to heat stuff because they have a seal that doesn't allow steam to escape and it will explode. Do not do this part. Instead, you'll just blend it for about 30 to 60 seconds until you can see that everything is incorporated, the dates are completely broken down, and then you can microwave it for about 90 seconds in order to heat it up, or you can, put it in a saucepan on the stove if you want to heat it up that way. But if you have a blender that will allow you to heat it, crank it up, and you can feel when it starts to get hot. I don't think Peef's gonna be able to turn the blender on for me, so Brian, could you turn it on for me? So you can see that it's
Jessica, headphones.
Oh. Hi. So you can see that it actually didn't really splatter that much. So it's probably just me being paranoid, crazy Jessica. But it did splatter there. You can see a little bit. So that could have flown all over my kitchen. Who knows? So that's just why I like to cover it, because I'm just weird. So anyway. Meh. Okay. But this is the best part, because, guys, okay, since it's so warm and hot and I love it. Okay, it's going to be so steamy when I open it. Are you ready? Are you recording? Sometimes Brian doesn't record, and then I say things and do things, and he's like, oh, it'd be nice if I hit record. I'm just saying. Wait. Ooh. But, steamy hot chocolate. It's so steamy. All right, so I'm gonna pour it into these little cute cups. I make enough to fill like a normal size mug basically, but this will also fill 2 of these cups. So let's pour it in. Look at that. That was the perfect amount for my 2 cups. Magic. All right, so we are ready to enjoy this amazing hot chocolate. Let's do it. So there you have it. That is my hot chocolate.
Yeah. I can honestly say I've had more hot chocolate this week than like the previous 10 years combined. That was a lot of hot chocolate you made this week. But it was all very, very tasty. I do agree, though. This is your best one yet.
Yeah? Mm-hmm. I had to make a little bit of extra for Peef because he didn't get any.
Yeah. He always likes hot chocolate.
What can you say?
He is a winter bear.
Okay, so...
Are we going to try this?
Are we going to try it?
Let's just go ahead and try it. Why not?
Let's do it. Ooh, it's still warm, even though...
Has a lovely chocolate bouquet. Swirl.
Really? Was that necessary?
Yep, very much so. Yeah, I like that. It's not too dark. It's not too bitter. It's got a good little bit of sweetness to it. Definitely not like grainy or anything. Like, you know, sometimes you can get like kind of a grainy hot chocolate.
Yeah,
you would. It's very smooth.
I think Brian would probably like it a bit sweeter. So maybe add in a little bit of dates.
Yeah. I did like the maple syrup version, but I think the date, like you said, has a more caramel undertone to it.
It just goes really well together with the chocolate. It had, like, the maple syrup one just tasted like...
It was sweet, and it had a slight maple taste to it.
Yeah, it tasted like a maple hot chocolate. So if you're into that kind of thing, try it out. But for me, I like the carameliness from the dates.
Yeah, but it's just, it's nice. It's a nice, pleasant beverage at the end of the night.
Yeah, for me, this actually, it's super, I keep telling Brian every time I drink a cup of it, it's super filling. Like, I usually drink the whole amount, so like this in one big mug. But it's like, it's super filling at the end of the night for something just, if you're just wanting something sweet and warm because it's getting colder out. Was it below freezing the other day here in St. Louis?
It was definitely close.
Like the coldest Halloween ever.
Yeah, it was pretty brutal for a bit there.
Yeah, it's just a nice little treat.
All in all, very, very tasty. Good job. And this was purely her. I had nothing to do with this one. So this is all Jessica's, concoction, and I quite like it. You did a great job.
Thank you.
But if these folks want to find the recipe for this, Jessica, where can they go?
Well, first of all, can you look at me and see if I have any hot chocolate on my face?
You don't have any hot chocolate on your face.
I don't want to do the rest of the video with like a hot chocolate face. Beef didn't drink any of his yet.
Oh, he'll get around to it.
If they want to get the recipe, they can go to crocsinthekitchen.com, and the blog post for this specific recipe is linked in the description below, and you'll be able to get a printable recipe and also see just pictures of the recipe and all kinds of fun stuff. So check out the blog post and let us know if you enjoy this one.
You can also find us on a lot of social media outlets, Facebook, but especially Instagram, where you will most likely see some more photos of said hot chocolate in some very lovely settings that Jessica, will probably take some nice little pics of. And I'm sure it will look super, super tasty. But yes, definitely check us out on Instagram and on Facebook as well. Also, if you have not subscribed, please do so and click that bell that is right next to it. We greatly appreciate any subscription that we get from you fine folks that are watching this video. Also, to everybody else, do that YouTube stuff. Like the video, share the video out to wherever you want to. And help us continue to grow the channel into the crock empire. Yeah, no, that's not what I want to do. But please share it out and like the video if you want to do so. But I think that's all I got.
That's all I got.
We will see you next time on Crocs in the Kitchen.
Bye.
Peef, drink your stuff.
Peef, if you're not gonna drink this, I will.